Hello, everyone, and thank you for joining us for this presentation, Transforming HR Service Delivery with AI. This program is part of the SHRM webinar series. You can learn about upcoming and on-demand events from our e-newsletters and the SHRM webinar homepage at shrm.org/webinars. Before we get started, if you're in HR and not a SHRM member yet, you're leaving tools, answers, and support on the table. Access 3,500 plus expert-built templates, talk to certified HR pros, not bots, and get ahead with insider research and compliance tools, all designed to make your job easier and your impact bigger. Please scan the QR code or visit shrm.org/edge to see what you're missing. SHRM thanks ServiceNow for sponsoring this program and our series of free webinars for the HR community. Before you hear from today's speaker, we want to provide you with guidance on using the SHRM webinar interface. To the right of your screen is where you'll be able to submit questions to the speaker. Under the video window, you can find the program resources for this presentation. After this program, you'll receive an email with a SHRM recertification code. Viewing this full program qualifies for 1 PDC toward SHRM CP and SHRM SCP recertification. You can claim the program for other kinds of HR recertification credit, but you'll need to provide the details to your certifying body. We only have pre-approval for SHRM certification. Now about today's program. This webinar will show HR professionals how to use artificial intelligence to build a more responsive and efficient HR function. To lead our presentation, we're pleased to welcome back Dr. Gleb Sapersky with Disaster Avoidance Experts. Here's more information about Dr. Sapersky. Dr. Gleb Sapersky was named Office Whisperer by the New York Times for helping HR leaders overcome frustrations with generative AI. He presents regularly for SHRM and serves as the CEO of the future of work consultancy Disaster Avoidance Experts. Dr. Sapersky wrote 7 best-selling books, including most recently ChatGPT for Leaders and Content Creators, Unlocking the Potential of Generative AI. His cutting-edge thought leadership was featured in over 650 articles and 550 interviews in Harvard Business Review, Inc. Magazine, USA Today, CBS News, Fox News, Time, Business Insider, Fortune, the New York Times, and elsewhere. His writing was translated into Chinese, Spanish, Russian, Polish, Korean, French, Vietnamese, German, and other languages. His expertise comes from over 20 years of consulting, coaching, and speaking and training for Fortune 500 companies from Aflac to Xerox. It also comes from over 15 years in academia as a behavioral scientist with 8 years as a lecturer at UNC Chapel Hill and 7 years as a professor at Ohio State. A proud Ukrainian-American, Dr. Sapersky lives in Columbus, Ohio. I'm now pleased to turn over the webinar microphone to Dr. Gleb Sapersky.
Thank you so much for the kind introduction, Connor. It's always a pleasure to collaborate with you. We've done a number of these, and I'm looking forward to this one. Well, everyone, let's talk about HR service delivery and AI. Now, Connor kindly introduced me and talked about all the resources that I created. And if you want, and he mentioned a copy of my book, ChatGPT for Leaders and Content Creators, which helps leaders figure out how to effectively integrate generative AI into their work. And I'm not trying to sell my book here. I'm happy to give it away for you. If you would like a copy, go to the link under my name. Go to the link that's you see in the interface. So you should see it in the slide, post-training resources at the very bottom, tinyurl.com/DAEEVENT. tinyurl.com/DAE event. And you can get a copy of my book. If you want to, you can book a free coaching meeting with me for helping you integrate these strategies into your work. And you will also get an AI readiness assessment to see how well your HR function is prepared to integrate generative AI effectively. So again, that's going to be at tinyurl.com/DAEEVENT, tinyurl.com/DAE event. All right, so please take the time to do that. And then in the meantime, let's talk about the main topic of the day. So here's the agenda. So here's what you can anticipate. from the presentation. First, we'll talk about why HR service delivery requires urgent transformation. And that is because of the impact of generative AI in so many fields that people are really demanding much more customized and personalized service. We'll talk about HR workflows guided by AI, what it does, how it works, and so on. Then, a very important question from a business perspective. If you invest into AI, what are going to be your returns? How can you measure them? We'll talk about governance, ethics, and compliance, very important questions from an HR perspective, from a business risk management perspective. I'll share about some case studies and success factors from clients I worked with. I helped over 3 dozen companies integrate generative AI into their work. So I'll talk about that, generative AI as well as traditional AI, meaning automations of various sorts. And finally, we'll talk about the implementation roadmap with some next steps. So that's what you can anticipate. So it'll be a 6-module, 6-part presentation. All right, let's kick it off. The case for change. There are on average 6 HR portals that employees navigate. And people get tired, they get confused, they get things wrong. They bother you with questions, they bother your staff, and it takes them a lot of effort to get work done. 48% of HR hours, according to Gartner, are spent on low-value triage of questions, issues from staff, which can be very easily done by AI. Cloud APIs and mature AI give real-time and policy-aware answers. So they can substantially deflect the number of questions that you are asked. And the competitive pressures and hybrid work are demanding leaner HR operations. So people work in a hybrid format, it's harder to ask questions, it's harder to coordinate. That creates more pressure on HR. Of course, there's some benefits from a recruitment and a retention perspective. I'm very much a fan of flexible work, but we have to understand that that does create some more coordination challenges that AI can solve pretty easily. And more broadly, generative AI adoption is surging across enterprises, and HR must keep pace with this broader surge. Now, AI self-service, what's that? It's an intelligent gateway to all HR services instead of the 6 big platforms. Single conversational front door. A beautiful thing about AI is that it's conversational. Anyone can do it. You don't have to be a programmer, you don't have to be a genius of any sort. It's conversation, it's communication. One interface for every HR query will eliminate portal confusion and will lead people to the right portal if you still need all those 6 portals or however many you're using, but it will eliminate a lot of confusion. Then there will be linked knowledge bases. So AI is great for linked knowledge bases with policies, case histories, procedures that are unified behind the scenes. It has 24-hour, 7 days a week accessibility with chat, voice, mobile. That really helps improve employee satisfaction. There are Applaud HR users see dramatic improvements. So as an example of one service providers. So this is Applaud. This is definitely a great tool. So Applaud HR client results report that a 40% reduction in ticket resolution time. That's great. And a 35% drop in request volume for tickets. So both there's less tickets because people can do a lot of self-service, and when there are tickets, HR staff can use these tools to get the answers quite a bit quicker and more effectively. So, big benefit. Let's talk about the workflow, HR-guided workflow. So first, it will detect intent and trigger certain HR-relevant workflows. It helps understand employee needs and initiate the right process, whatever it might be, for the situation. So it can fill forms through data integration, pulling for information from HRIS, payroll, IT, to help you streamline processes. Then it can send nudges and status updates. So employees often take their sweet time and forget about doing various HR tasks. That helps employees and even managers. So managers can get pings as well if their employees haven't done certain things. That helps them through the entire process. And that helps orchestrate cross-team tasks. So if there's HR relevant tasks that you do across departments, that is quite helpful as well. And then it feeds data on all of these previous steps to go into continuous improvement. So you can continuously improve your processes by using this approach. All right, let's talk about some examples of where you can use AI effectively. Talent acquisition and recruiting is a big one. AI-powered hiring goes from sourcing to onboarding. It's a really great tool. Smart resume scoring is a great tool. So it scores resumes, services talent, cuts bias, which is an issue. Instant content generation for, let's say, outreach to potential recruits, to people you want to recruit, guides for interviews. It helps you make offers, letters in seconds, very helpful. Automate scheduling, syncing calendars, all of that stuff takes quite a bit of time for people to schedule. So this is a big, big improvement. So Capita was one example in this field in terms of service providers. The time to hire reduction was from weeks to days using Capita as an example. I'm not affiliated with any of these. I'm just giving you some examples of tools to use. Not paid by any of them to promote them. Just letting you know. All right, onboarding. AI-powered first impressions. Very helpful. So you have a concierge that guides new hires through tasks and helps them address forms with personalized, customized assistance. Imagine how much staff time is saved with that and how many mistakes people would address through that. Even with things like getting the appropriate coverage for themselves and choosing the appropriate retirement plans, as well as so many other things that are addressed through this approach. Then auto-trigger systems with hardware access and workspace tickets triggered automatically. You don't have to create them. Personalized learning paths, so where you get people onboarded. So for the first several weeks, week one learning paths and mentors that are matched to their learn roles and skills, and tracking the productivity of those early employees, monitoring onboard and early productivity metrics. Forbes research shows a 35% increase in early productivity with AI-guided onboarding. So that's another big benefit in terms of the return on investment for you. Learning and development. Let's talk about learning and development and how you can use AI there. So it can help map employee skills, push microlearning, and get projects that are stretch goals tailored to individual people. It can help them have real-time coaching through AI. It helps them collaborate effectively to when they need most, when other employees aren't there, especially again with hybrid work. That's a very, very good tool. Content generation, generating videos, quizzes, aids on demand for employee learning, and completion tracking, monitoring progress, engagement to optimize learning outcomes. Clear Company, for example, reports an increase in course completion of 27% with AI-driven learning and development. Definitely a good ROI boost. What about performance management? So this is another area where AI can be quite helpful. Let's talk about AI curated feedback and insights. So continuous feedback is a big benefit. So AI curated feedback and goal dashboards for managers and staff, that's a big one. Then bias detection. So detecting bias patterns, suggesting collaboration before reviews, that is another benefit. How much data do you have to parse through to detect that? Well, AI can automatically do that for you. Then drafting review summaries and development plans for managers. So managers, of course, hate, generally speaking, annual reviews, and whatever makes their job easier, they're really appreciative of. And helps faster cycles, streamlining review processes with AI assistance and automation so that you don't have to do it only once a year, but that you can do it more frequently and do it in response to employee performance. Deloitte research shows a 33% drop in assessment bias and 25% faster review cycles when using AI for performance management. All right, what about compensation? AI-driven pay equity and personalized benefits is a big plus. So you can flag outliers and propose adjustments automatically, tracking remediation as needed. Then benefits chatbots cut benefits calls, guide enrollment choices with intelligent assistance. Very, very helpful tool. Personalized statements. The total reward statements and benefit recommendations tailored to each employee. That is, again, tailored to their needs. Very, very helpful. Analytics and insights. So AI pay analytics providers actionable insights that help retain these employees, which is definitely benefit. So research by Bicume shows that for AI pay analytics, there's a 12% better retention with AI-driven compensation. All right, what about employee engagement and experience? So this is another area where AI can be quite helpful. For example, chatbots can address frequently asked questions, escalating when needed for complex issues. Recognition and wellness is another benefit. So you can suggest appropriate recognition moments for employees and wellness resources automatically as needed. Then pulse surveys and analytics. So sentiment analysis and action nudges to leaders that are based on employee feedback, where you're seeing what employees are saying and you can get leaders to get that action nudges to get them to take certain actions. And then also helps proactively identify engagement risks and intervene proactively. So Circle, for example, reports that their client results see a drop of voluntary turnover by 18% with AI engagement tools. Really great benefit. Internal mobility within your company. AI-powered career development and succession planning definitely shows very good benefits. So skills graphs is one area where you can match staff to projects and open roles based on roles and interests. So what you'll want to do is have staff, when I work with companies, we definitely do this early on in the start of the employee's journey, have them fill out skill graphs, what they want to learn, what they want to develop, and that helps them with career planning inside the company. Succession gap alerts, where you have proactive alerts for succession gaps and pipeline opportunities. And AI-informed career paths, so generating career paths with skills, mentors, and learning assets. Very good tool. Mobility analytics, training internal movement patterns and optimizing career development programs. So that's another benefit. Talent Guard shows with their client results that there's an increase in 30% in internal moves within 1 year after starting to use Talent Guard. So this is another benefit, and one that we should not underestimate in terms of employees getting ability to move internally effectively. Employee relations and case management. So here is another area where AI can shine. AI-powered case resolution, systemic issue detection, these are kind of high-stakes areas, and this is something that you can really use AI for. Natural language programming case triage will automatically triage cases, routing them to the right specialist fast. It can auto-compile reports with evidence, SLA tracking automatically. Then narrative analysis, spotting systemic issues for pattern recognition. That's definitely important to see what's going on. And helps you have defensible outcomes, ensuring compliance and documentation for legal defensibility. So ServiceNow HR service delivery is great from that perspective. Clients enjoy quicker, more defensible outcomes when they have AI-powered case management that tracks everything and gives a clear analysis of what's going on. Leave and absence management. That's another area where AI can shine. Automating leave processing with predictive insights is an example. So policy-aware bots can handle leave requests and eligibility checks automatically, provide clear real-time guidance on leave balances and return to work guidance by chat, for example. They can flag staffing gaps and suggest cross-training needs because they can see what kind of leaves are going to happen, and ensure adherence to labor laws and company policies, so compliance basically. Workday is a good tool for this. It provides predictive staffing insights and compliance engine with chatbot-assisted leave requests. So, very nice tool. Okay, what about the end stage of the employee lifecycle, offboarding and employee alumni relations? It can help you with asset retrieval, revoking access, and exit surveys in a single workflow instead of having multiple workflows with staff managing this. Alumni portal can be there for you with tailored job alerts and referral incentives for former employees, which is always nice to have that loyalty from former employees. Automatic knowledge transfer and project artifact archiving. That's a big issue with institutional knowledge not being handed off correctly. And you can address that with AI effectively. And license optimization. So automatic license reclamation, cost optimization definitely can save quite a bit of money if you do that. Atomic Work, for example, says that its clients save 25% on unused licenses after AI offboarding. So quite nice. Measuring ROI, operational metrics. So before I talk about this point, let me share my screen and give you an example of how an AI tool works. All right. So what you'll see here is a tool called NCJOA Policy Advisor Assistant. This is a company I'm currently working with, and it's an insurance company. And what we did for this company is we put their insurance policies, all of their insurance forms, into a chatbot agent tool. So it can quickly extract information about various policies. And the goal of this, so going back to what we're talking about, this is helpful for senior insurance adjusters, claims adjusters, underwriters to do their work, but it's especially a tool for junior folks. So this is something that is a learning tool. So we talked about learning. Now imagine how much time it takes junior folks to learn all the exclusion policies. So let's say there's a policy called DP001, exclusion for kitchen sink water leak causing mold. Let's do two. TP01 and TP0002. So usually it's going to be taking information from a couple of policies depending on the situation. So let's say a junior adjuster, previously they would have had to memorize all these policies essentially and remember where all the policies are coming from and where all the information is in each policy and what they need to learn. Now they don't need to do that. Now they need to generally know about the policies, like what DP is, and there is a DP01 and DP02, so they can look at, let's say, a claim comes in from an insured saying that there's kitchen sink water leak that caused mold. And it's coming in under dwelling property basic form DP01 and broad coverage form DP02. And now they need to, what would they do previously? They would go to these forms because they're junior adjusters, they don't remember what the form says. And they would need to figure out where the forms are, they would need to read them thoroughly and take the time to address the situation. Here, now, with this chatbot, this automatic tool, what it does is it automatically, and by the way, this is all safe and secure within the Microsoft system. This is a custom chatbot built on Microsoft Copilot. So if you're using Microsoft Copilot, like I work with a bunch of companies that are, like I said, insurance companies, law firms, manufacturing companies that build these sorts of tools all the time. So I worked with Here, it was a combination of the claims and with some HR to help construct this tool for it's good for senior adjusters to use when they don't recall, like on more rare policy forms that they don't recall all that often. But it's especially super helpful for junior adjusters. So let's see what it says. So you saw I took 30 seconds to type this in. Then it took about another 30-ish seconds to generate this information. So potential exclusions. It says mongoose, mold, fungus, wet or dry rot exclusion. Okay, so excluded unless it results from accidental discharge or overflow of water or steam from within plumbing heating. This exclusion also applies to mold or fungus. Damage caused by freezing, thawing to certain structures is excluded. This is excluded. Intentional loss is excluded. Neglect is excluded. So, this is an exception that if it results from accidental, so you see there's a bunch of exclusions here, but let's look at the specific situation. Kitchen sink water leak causing mold. Coverage is provided for mold, fungus, or wet that is the direct result of accidental discharge or overflow of water or steam from plumbing, heating, air conditioning. There we go. So now we know that this is an exception that is covered, coverage is provided from plumbing, and it will cover this damage. So the insurance company is liable for covering the damage, as well as reasonable repairs for further damage. So it will cover the damage that is already done, whatever has been caused by the mold, whatever the problems are, and reasonable damage against reasonable costs for further damage. Then there's a separate policy. This is just generally for everyone, senior adjusters, moderate adjusters, junior adjusters. Then there's a specific section for junior adjusters saying confirm whether the mold damage resulted directly from accidental discharge, as this determines coverage. Verify if the mold is hidden within structural components, only if caused by covered peril. Check for evidence of neglect or intentional acts that could void coverage. So if, let's say, there was a leak going on for a while and the homeowner didn't do anything, and then it caused mold, and then the insurance would not cover it because that's neglecting the situation. So review policy declarations for additional mold or water provisions. So, and then it gives adjuster action items. Inspect the source of the water leak if it qualifies as this. Document the extent and location. Assess if reasonable repairs were made promptly to prevent further damage, and review policy limits. And now you could see where it's getting that information from. So it's getting this information from these forms. So there you go. That's the nature of this tool. Now, let me share another screen. Okay, you should be able to see this screen. So, how did we develop this? The crucial thing is that it's not rocket science. It's not hard. You don't have to pay a pricey vendor to develop this thing and give it to you. The crucial thing is that you can develop it yourself. I worked with this company to help train them on how to develop this tool. Happy to work you through that, but you can do this yourself if you want to invest your time and efforts into learning this. So this is a tool in Copilot Studio, which is a $30 add-on. If you're already using Microsoft, it's a $30 add-on to Microsoft. And what you do is you go to here to agents, and you create an agent called, there's a number of agents here, but I'm showing you the Policy Advisor Assistant. And then the key is giving it the information. You want to give it the policy forms. So all the policy forms that you wanted to use. So give it all the policy forms. and then you want to give it the instructions. And so the instructions are going to be kind of the secret sauce. That's what you'll have to figure out to customize it to your individual use case. So here, output requirements: return a concise exclusion analysis. If there's not answer stability, don't erase it. Hard rules: single policy analysis only, seeing what the policy evaluations are. Use only exclusions in the user provided text, don't import from other policies. No addition guessing. This gives it instructions on how to recognize the policy. And it looks complicated, but it's not really. It's just regex, regex, which you can easily learn. Like if you know Excel, basically, you can learn regex very quickly. Then exclusion parsing, detecting exclusions. We don't cover this, we don't cover that. Pre-answer gates, ensuring only one policy evaluated, but they're structured workflow, detect policy codes, enforce single policy. Junior adjuster guidance. This was a section for junior adjusters that you saw. Highlight common pitfalls and so on. Output format, policy evaluated potential exclusions, and so on. All of these issues. Then no wipe mandate. So this instructions, and this is just, like I said, it's customized to this client, but I worked with the claims department and HR to customize it to their needs, to the needs of especially junior adjusters, and senior adjusters also use this. They find it quite helpful. So let me stop sharing. So I hope that helps you understand that you should be empowered to work on this. The back end here is not complex. It's not programming. It's not rocket science. The only complex thing there was that regex code, regex, which if you know Excel, you can easily learn it. And most of your forms and policies inside your HR policies, they are going to be natural language programming. Here, it's a little bit more complex because they have lots of policies that are called like DP 00, 01, 03, 05, or something like that. And that's more complex for a chatbot to recognize than natural language programming about, let's say, if you want benefits enrollment or something like that. So it's another thing I'm building for NCGOA and other companies. Benefits enrollment chatbots, very, very easy to construct. You just need to have the instructions and you need to have the benefits information uploaded into the backend. And then you can have automatic connections to the benefits where if somebody selects something, that can automatically go into the HR database. So you don't even have to have like a separate flow for that. So this is really, really useful. That's just one example. There are plenty of other examples that I can give. I gave some earlier examples of the kind of agents you can build. So it's all about building agents. Very, very helpful. There are also, I don't have time to go into this, but if you, not agents, but AI automation, where you can automate a number of processes that will make it really useful for you to and save you quite a bit of time. So let's get back. So that was a specific example, a case study I wanted to show you. Let's get back to measuring ROI. Operational metrics. Key performance indicators. Resolution time is important. Requesting resolution time per workflow. First, contact resolution, measuring AI success rate. Then employee effort score. So you can have that score as part of the feedback process on AI. Self-service adoption. See how many total tickets are resolved by self-service. Portal reduction. So count portals shut after AI rollout that you don't have to use them anymore. And the decrease in HR cost per employee, because you'll definitely have that decrease in HR cost per employee after rolling out AI. Strategic metrics, manager time shift. So shifting manager hours and HR hours, manager hours from admin to strategy, HR hours from busy work to effective work. Employee net promoter score, quarterly after the launch process. Turnover tracking, so track voluntary turnover in your talent pool. And internal mobility, monitoring internal mobility and fill time. have pulse engagement scores to capture engagement scores for heavy AI users to measure the impact of adopting AI. ROI dashboard. So you can have, oh, by the way, I wanted to say I just used Microsoft just because that's kind of, I know a number of companies use Microsoft. ChatGPT is great. You don't have to use Copilot. Anthropic Claude is great, very good tool. Gemini is great. All of these tools can be built, you can build around them too. So if you use ChatGPT, you just use combinations with Zapier and webhooks to plug them into your existing software. If you are not using Microsoft, if you're not a Microsoft shop. Obviously, if you're a Google shop, you want to go with Gemini. With anything else like Slack and so on, Anthropic Claude is great. Measuring ROI, modeling and insights. So ROI dashboard can merge savings and gains in one big comprehensive business intelligence dashboard. Payback analysis with project payback period and 3-year net present value score. Total cost of ownership, so full program cost of ownership for accurate analytics, and scenario planning, running best expected and worst case scenarios for the investors, meaning the business leaders who are deciding how much money to invest into this. McKinsey benchmark shows that AI-enabled support teams see a productivity uplift of 30 to 45%, 30% at the low end to 45% at the high end. So look at where your uplift will be there. Okay, for some reason this is not changing on the screen. Okay, now it's changing. Good. Temporary glitch. Data governance and policy. Data protection and policy frameworks. I told you I'd talk about this. The purpose and boundaries. You want to look at what is the goal of AI adoption, the benefits, acceptable use cases, have data protection with retention rules, anonymized training sets, encrypting your data, vendor management, vet vendors for security, legal, and compliance checks, have data mapping of data sources, label sensitivity, least privilege access, like that's kind of basic stuff, but you need to do the basic stuff well. Have an incident response, escalating privacy or failure incidents via established playbooks, and compliance monitoring, continuous monitoring and auditing of data governance practices. So I think I can actually show you this too. Let's see. Okay, I'll do another screen share. Okay, you should be able to see my whole screen at this stage. All right, so let me show you, since I already was showing the NCGOA, let me show you the incident response plan as one example. So what's the purpose and scope of the AI incident response plan? For managing AI-related incidents, serious issues, activation triggers. So IRP, incident response plan, what does this look like? So you have roles and responsibilities. AI governance committee manages all of this process. Core incident response team is a standing team that serves as the core of the first responders. Department leadership are part of it. This is their role. Individual employees, this is their role. Information technology, this is their role. And here I help with resolving moderate or serious issues. Then we have an incident response playbook with various phases: identification and reporting, containment, investigation and eradication, recovery and communication, and post-incident activities. And then if there's a separate protocol for vendor-originated incidents, so looking at contract, relevant contract review, joint investigation, liability and indemnification, and then we have regular tabletop simulations. So we're doing every quarter for the first year to build muscle memory. And then reporting and documentation, risk register, quarterly reports, and then metrics and KPIs. So these are the kinds of metrics and KPIs you want to look at for incident reporting. And then there's an appendix of examples. I'll stop sharing now. But I hope that example gives you a flavor of what this reporting structure should look like. All right, governance. AI governance committee, talk about the committee. Drafting all AI policy, updating it as needed. Then an executive sponsor committee who will clear roadblocks, maintain alignment on the NCJOA. I'm using that as an example. It's the head of IT. Very helpful. Meeting cadence, we start with weekly and then move on eventually to every 2 weeks and then to every month once we have things established. And of course, minutes need to be posted for the leadership team to see. Ethical safeguards. So bias testing for AI, very important to do that. For the insurance company, for example, we do bias testing on underwriting and so on. Then logs of each reference, decision, and override. So keeping that clear. Showing key features and confidence scores for decisions for transparency, and having ethics training. So we have half-hour ethics training for all new employees and then a refresher for all existing employees, and all that's generally for everyone. They go through this process. And then department-specific ethics training for each department decides on how to do it for new employees and for existing employees, like customizing at least half an hour every quarter for ethics and use case training for the departments. And keep in mind the regulatory alignment. So if you have branches in the EU AI Act, then EEOC has certain guidance on AI and local labor rules. Let's talk about the roadmap. So first 90 days, assessment and setup phase. Readiness audit. I told you I'll send you a copy of my assessment on readiness. It's going to be at tinyurl.com/DAE-EVENT, tinyurl.com/DAE event. Then a data inventory of all the data, identifying and filling gaps, the AI policy and AI governance committee, then security validation, standing up a soapbox, and then have some quick win pilots. So that's what I typically do during my first 90 days of engagement. Then phase 2, 3 to 6 months. This is more of the systemic integration of the successful pilots with payroll, service platform, whatever it might be, migrating the knowledge into a single chatbot hub, and 24-hour self-service for top HR queries with workflow automation for the most used workflows first, along with a live analytics dashboard for key performance indicators. Next, 6 to 12 months, scaling and optimizing, expanding AI to talent, performance, and pay modules at that stage, optimizing the models to retrain them and have them function better. Have success stories so that people are more confident in AI usage. Compare ROI targets to actual outcomes and refine AI usage as needed, and refresh governance framework for new rules and regulations and case studies. Let's talk about an example of a multi-state retail transformation with 12,000 employees that I worked for. We had a portal consolidation of 9 portals to 1, fixed contact resolution of 70% with queries solved. This was something that was really helpful for them. Volume reduction of tickets by 35% and this was all over 4 months. A consumer goods manufacturer that I worked with had 1,600 staff in private label food plants, increase in performance of 17%, and decrease. So this was focusing on the manufacturing side. Quality defects decrease of 9%, and then from an HR perspective, an improvement in retention with merit pay of 11%. The key innovation here was AI nudge supervisors to log microfeedback, helping real-time scores improve real-time scores based that was tied to merit pay. Wouldn't have been able to do it without it. So this doesn't have to apply to companies that are over 1,000 people. Working with an 80-person firm that helped with manufacturing components for data centers. They increased their hiring speed by 53%. The question deflection for new hires was reduced by 76% because it was handled by a chatbot, with a 12% increase in first-year retention and a reduction in training time. With a financial services firm of 600 with strict compliance rules, we had an 80% increase in resolving tickets automatically. So great increase. With a backlog reduction in tickets from 14 days to 2 days, and this was over a period of 90 days because there were much fewer tickets for HR to deal with an 18% increase in satisfaction, with compliance excellence. So AI classified tickets by topic and urgency at intake, ensuring regulatory compliance. A professional services firm with employee accounting group in 3 regions. The AI benefits advisor had a result in a 60% drop in enrollment questions and improved personalized matching of plans to age, health, and budget. So cost savings was $40,000 on hotline hours and broker fees within 1 year. And that was including the cost of implementing the AI. So overall, the AI greatly saved money, and that's just in the first year. With a regional logistics company, also around 600 staff, there were drivers in warehouses in 5 states, had a 24% drop in incident rates with some safety issues. HR call time, 30%, 8% reduction. AI safety bot provided micro training after near misses and resulted in an annual premium reduction of $180,000. Great. All right. So hopefully those case studies and those examples I showed you of both the actual tool and the policy that the tool that informs the tool's usage was helpful. And we've talked about a lot together. Launching an AI service model for guided self-service for all HR needs is very important and valuable. Automating your workflows for high-value work. Connecting your systems for seamless hire-to-retire journeys. Embedding fair AI governance, and proven value through metrics. We talked about all of these, and I hope you've enjoyed and valued what you learned today. So next steps for you is assessing your current HR service delivery maturity. Again, I'll send you an assessment about that. Identify high-impact use cases. Look at data gaps, quick wins, and what are the priority areas for implementation. Build a cross-functional pilot team with executive sponsorship, of course, and people who you, like, let's say, with HR and claims that I worked with that agent that I showed you. And schedule a discovery workshop. Map your first AI-guided workflows and create implementation goals. So I hope you're ready to transform your HR operations and you're ready to start your HR AI journey today. To help you, make sure to get the post-training resources. I'll be happy to send you a copy of the slides. And I told you I'm not selling the book. I'll send you a free copy of my book, ChatGPT for Leaders and Content Creators, Unlocking the Potential of Generative AI, as well as a free coaching session for anyone who wants to integrate this information into their work better than they currently are. Look at the resources and get them at tinyurl.com/DAE event. That's going to be tinyurl.com/DAEEVENT. That's going to be the link at the very bottom of the screen. tinyurl.com/DAE event for all of these resources. All right, everyone. I hope you enjoyed this presentation, and I look forward to any questions that you might have.
Thank you. We will turn to audience questions in just a moment. This webinar is sponsored by ServiceNow. In today's dynamic business environment, ServiceNow is putting AI agents to work for people through a modern, scalable employee experience platform that simplifies how work gets done. By leveraging AI agents and advanced digital workflows on a single platform, companies can boost employee productivity, reduce operational costs, and make smarter talent decisions. ServiceNow connects and unifies employee services, support, and communications across the enterprise, transforming fragmented systems into seamless, intuitive experiences that drive business growth and employee satisfaction. To learn more, please visit servicenow.com/ex. All right, before we turn to audience questions, here's the information on the PDC you earned today towards your MCP and SCP recertification. You can claim your credit by using the number 26FQU7H. Again, that number 26FQU7H. Regardless of the type of recertification you have, you must keep track of the SHRM webinars you've watched and keep a reliable record on your end. All right, our first question. Are there not a large number of legal challenges to the use of AI in HR or business?
No, there are not that many legal challenges if you go through the process that I showed before. So I told you before, let me actually share my screen again. So you saw this incident response playbook that I showed you, right? That's a way to protect yourself against these issues. Let me show you other things that you want to do to protect yourself against these issues. So this is going to be the broad policy. The document outlines our artificial intelligence policy. It's going to be aligned with the state of the North Carolina Department of Insurance on this bulletin for the AI. So there's an official bulletin for the North Carolina State Department of Insurance on using AI. And this policy for NCJOA is aligned with it. Then purpose and scope, regulatory context, data privacy and security. So this is, staff training where I need to drop this part. This is not like, this is my copy of the policy, but for this was with notes for me to do, and this was already done. But anyway, data privacy and security. So you want to have this, data privacy and security before showing AI data, what it will do, having training, technological staff guards, governance, risk management, and oversight, associations, legal, IT, and operations department. Of course, we had legal involved in framing this policy. HITL, human in the loop, the crucial AI processes have human in the loop approach that will be utilized for human interaction. Examples of permissible versus restricted use of AI, giving what are appropriate things, summarizing internal documents, and so on. Something that is inappropriate is fully automating underwriting decisions or policy issuance. Employee use of tools, third-party AI vendors, improvement in training, and so on. Incident response and reporting. Now, I showed you the incident response plan. And here is, as an example, the training program. Let's go to, so this is going to be the nature of the training program. Microsoft Copilot fundamentals, and then responsible AI and NCGA policy. So this is the example of the training program for addressing these legal risks. And let's see if I have, here we go. So this is the curriculum for the training modules, for each of the training modules for the program. This is the one for commitment to responsible AI policies, and this describes the training, the why behind the policy, governance committee, foundational principles, core controls, what this means, your responsibility, data privacy, understanding regulatory duties, permissible versus prohibited uses, how to report AI issues, and the AI risk management framework, the incident response plan, and the conclusion and next steps, as well as the assessment. What is the primary purpose, and so on. And I'm not going to go through all of these, but this should give you the flavor. We have the issue reporting framework, a risk management framework as well. So this all helps address, I'm going to stop sharing. This all helps address the concerns with legal issues, with compliance issues. If you have a good, I made this a module. If you have good governance and compliance, you're fine with the legal issues around AI usage.
Thank you. We've got time for a couple more questions. What ethical blind spots do you think HR professionals might overlook when implementing AI-driven decision-making tools?
Great question. So one thing that I saw when doing this is that you want to be notified about certain things that employees ask for. So, for example, one company I worked with rolled out a leave assistant. So it had like leave, people can automatically ask for leave, and it would just guide them through the process. And it was really deflected a lot. Like I think it was like over 60%, if I recall correctly. I don't have the numbers in front of me. Of any conversations with HR, it's just like automatic, send it to their manager, they approved it and whatnot. However, what happened over time is that there began to be some concern among HR that they're not getting information about the reasons for why people are taking leave. And for some reasons, like let's say bereavement leave, you might provide special support for your employees, and that would help them in times of bereavement and engagement that employees might not know about. They might just ask for, like 3 days off, but you might have special bereavement leave policies and procedures and practices that employees might want to know about, or like adoption, or whatever it might be. So various things that HR might want to know about, that if you automate things, that causes a problem of like much less time, but also somewhat less knowledge. So the way we solved that was we made sure to integrate questions about like the nature of the leave, why they're asking for a leave. And then with the information, we had certain triggers. So we had certain keywords and patterns that AI was trained on to recognize the reasons for leave and other issues that HR might want to know about and be alerted to. And that helped improve the HR engagement with employees, and helped improve employee engagement, helped improve employee retention as a result of that. So that's an example of where HR might think about certainly proceeding with AI very thoroughly and effectively, but also having certain triggers for what employees are asking so that that information is flagged for HR.
Thank you. We got time for one more question. If we're just starting with AI, should we focus first on recruitment, learning and development, analytics, or somewhere else?
The thing I would focus on first is the easiest thing. And I find the easiest thing is something like an HR benefits assistant. That's going to be internally oriented, so you don't have to deal with with recruits. And it's also going to save HR a lot of like useless ticket resolution time that HR staff really don't like to do. Nobody likes to like just answer the same questions all the time. So if you have an HR benefits assistant, that gives, and also people don't like asking those questions. It's like, okay, like they're like, oh, do I do the research myself? Do I ask HR? Like, what's up? So maybe sometimes they don't want HR to know about everything that they're asking for. So having an HR benefits assistant is the least effort. Like you saw that build was just essentially putting documents into the backend and then giving it appropriate instructions. So that something like that, an HR benefits assistant, or guiding. Another tool that's very easy and effective is the tool that I showed you for guiding junior employees into learning the policies, procedures, and practices of your firm. So that onboarding, very, very helpful, also very easy to build. So those are probably the two I would start with. So if you're scaling up and hiring a lot of people, you probably want the onboarding tool, the learning tool, the one that I showed you. And if you're not scaling up quite so quickly and you want to deal with the annoying questions that you get that take up your valuable time, HR benefits assistant is what I found companies that I work with to have a lot of success with.
All right. Thank you, Dr. Gleb. We're coming to the end of this program. We've got about 30 seconds before the program window closes. In a post-webinar email, you'll receive the post-webinar survey, as well as the SHRM recertification code. We hope you'll take a few moments to fill out that survey. It helps us assess this program and plan for future events. Before we sign off, we want to thank our presenter, Dr. Gleb Sapersky with Disaster Avoidance Experts, for the information he provided today. And we also want to thank everyone tuning in for being with us and for choosing SHRM for HR webinars. That concludes this program.